Welcome, my fellow horror enthusiasts, to a place where shadows twist and whispers echo with the unknown. Tonight we embark on a journey to deserted airfields, places where the ghosts of aviation past linger amidst the rusted hangars and cracked runways. These are not just abandoned structures, they are vessels of forgotten stories echoing with whispers of the unexplained. We have three spine-chilling tales for you tonight, each one more unsettling than the last. So dim the lights, lock your doors and prepare to be terrified, because tonight we venture into the heart of darkness. Imagine, if you will, a desolate airfield swallowed by the vast expanse of the American Midwest. The wind howls through the skeletal remains of hangars, rattling the rusted metal sheets like the chattering teeth of a ghost. This is the setting of our first tale, the tale of a lone night watchman named Dale and his unsettling experience. Dale had been the watchman at this forgotten airfield for years, his only companions the whispering wind and the occasional coyote's howl. One particularly cold night, as the moon hung heavy and full in the sky, casting long eerie shadows across the tarmac, Dale noticed something strange. A pulsating light flickered in the distance near the far end of the runway, where a dilapidated control tower stood like a skeletal sentinel. It pulsed with an unnatural rhythm, casting an ethereal glow that seemed to shift and dance in the darkness. He initially dismissed it as a trick of the light, a figment of his imagination fueled by the isolation and the eerie silence of the night. But the light persisted, growing stronger, more insistent. Curiosity warred with apprehension within Dale, urging him to investigate. Armed with only a flashlight and his courage, he cautiously approached the source of the light, his heart pounding in his chest. As he neared the dilapidated control tower, the air grew heavy, thick with an unseen presence. The temperature plummeted, sending a shiver down his spine. The pulsating light intensified, bathing the crumbling structure in an otherworldly glow. He called out, his voice trembling slightly in the stillness. "Hello? Is anyone out there?" Only the wind answered him, whistling through the broken windows of the control tower. His flashlight beam danced across the interior, revealing nothing but dust-covered equipment and cobwebs thick with age. Then he heard it, a low, guttural growl emanating from the shadows within the tower. His blood ran cold. Fear, primal and instinctive, surged through him, urging him to flee. He turned to run, but the growling sound intensified, seeming to surround him, trap him. His flashlight flickered and died, plunging him into absolute darkness. Panic welled up inside him. He fumbled for his lighter, his hands shaking uncontrollably. The flickering flame offered little comfort, casting dancing shadows that seemed to writhe and contort like living things. The growling grew louder, closer, as if whatever lurked in the darkness was toying with him, savoring his fear. He stumbled back, his foot catching on a piece of debris. He fell, his heart pounding against his ribs like a drum. As he lay there, helpless, he felt a cold, rancid breath on his face, and he knew with terrifying certainty that he was not alone. He squeezed his eyes shut, bracing himself for the unknown, but the attack never came. When he finally dared to open his eyes, the growling had stopped, and the only sound was the wind whistling through the broken windows. The light was gone, vanished into the night. He scrambled to his feet, his body trembling, and ran, not stopping until he reached the relative safety of his small security shack. He never spoke of what he experienced that night, but the memory of the pulsating light, the guttural growls, and the feeling of icy breath on his face haunted him, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked at the edges of reality. The airfield remained abandoned, a silent testament to the unexplained. Some say the strange lights and sounds persist, a warning to those who dare to venture onto its grounds after dark. Our next tale takes us to the windswept plains of Texas, to a World War II-era airfield now shrouded in an eerie silence. This airfield, known as Barstow Field, holds a tragic history. During the war, it served as a training ground for young pilots. But tragedy struck when a training exercise went horribly wrong. Two planes collided in mid-air. In the years that followed, locals whispered of a ghostly apparition haunting the airfield. They called him the Phantom Aviator. He was often seen on foggy nights, a solitary figure in a leather flight jacket and goggles. Pacing the tarmac near the old control tower, his face obscured by the shadows. One evening, a group of teenagers decided to explore the abandoned airfield. Sarah noticed a figure standing at the far end of the runway. It was tall and imposing, silhouetted against the moonlit sky. As they watched, the figure began to walk towards them. They could make out the faint outline of a leather flight jacket and goggles. Then, as quickly as it had appeared, the figure vanished into the shadows. The image of the Phantom Aviator seared into their minds, a haunting reminder of the tragedies that linger long after the echoes of war have faded. Our final tale takes us to the desolate Mojave Desert, where the sun beats down mercilessly on the cracked earth, and the wind carries whispers of forgotten secrets. Nestled amidst the sand dunes and Joshua trees lies a forgotten airfield, its runways now bleached bones against the scorched landscape. This airfield, known as El Mirage, has long been a magnet for thrill-seekers and adventurers drawn to its desolate beauty and eerie silence. But beneath the surface of this seemingly barren landscape lies an unsettling truth, a darkness that whispers on the wind. It was here on a sweltering summer night that a young couple, Emily and Jake, decided to camp out, their tent pitched under the watchful gaze of the Milky Way. They were experienced campers, drawn to the solitude and stark beauty of the desert. As they sat by their campfire, the flames casting flickering shadows that danced across the sand, Jake recounted local legends of strange lights and unexplained phenomena witnessed in the area. Emily listened intently, captivated by his tale, though a shiver ran down her spine despite the heat. "They say this place is haunted," Jake whispered, his voice barely audible above the crackling fire. "People have gone missing out here, vanished without a trace." Emily scoffed playfully, nudging him with her shoulder. "Don't tell me you believe those stories," Jake chuckled, throwing another log onto the fire. "Who knows, maybe there's some truth to them." They turned in for the night, the vast expanse of the star-filled sky above them, the silence broken only by the gentle whisper of the wind and the distant howl of a coyote. Emily drifted off to sleep, lulled by the rhythmic breathing of her partner. She awoke suddenly in the dead of night, her heart pounding in her chest. Something was wrong. The air inside the tent felt heavy, oppressive, charged with an unseen energy. She reached out for Jake, but her hand met only empty space. Panic surged through her. "Jake!" she called out, her voice trembling in the darkness. Silence. She fumbled for the flashlight, her hand shaking uncontrollably. The beam cut through the darkness, revealing the tent flap unzipped, swaying gently in the breeze. "Jake!" she called out again, her voice edged with panic. She scrambled out of the tent, her heart pounding against her ribs like a drum. The desert night was eerily quiet, the only sound the gentle whisper of the wind. She scanned the surrounding area, her flashlight beam dancing across the sand dunes and scrub, but there was no sign of Jake. "Jake, where are you?" she cried out, her voice echoing in the vast emptiness. Despair began to set in, a cold, creeping dread that tightened its grip around her heart. She called out for him again and again, her voice growing hoarse, but the desert offered no reply. She searched for hours, her hope dwindling with each passing moment, but Jake was gone, vanished without a trace. The authorities were called in, but their search proved fruitless. Jake's disappearance remained a mystery, his fate unknown. Some speculated that he had wandered off in the night and succumbed to the elements, but Emily knew in her heart that something more sinister had transpired. She could not shake the feeling that something had taken him, something that lurked in the shadows of the desert night, something ancient and malevolent. The desert held its secrets close, the wind whispering tales of those who had vanished, swallowed by the vast expanse, their fates forever unknown. Emily left the desert that day, her heart heavy with grief and a chilling sense of unease. She carried the weight of Jake's disappearance with her, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface of the familiar world, a darkness that could claim a life without a trace, leaving only questions that whispered on the wind. And so our journey into the heart of darkness comes to an end. We've explored deserted airfields shrouded in mystery where the veil between our world and the unknown wears thin. We've encountered strange lights and sounds, ghostly apparitions and disappearances that defy explanation. Thank you for joining us on this chilling exploration of the unexplained. If you enjoyed these tales of terror, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more spine-chilling stories from the shadows. Don't forget to share your own encounters with the unknown in the comments below. Until next time, sleep tight and remember, the darkness is always listening.